Now time for the 7 things you'll be talking about today. Number 7.
Pride Month is over. Congratulations for getting through it, even though I think every month should be Pride Month because it's such a disaster and it shows people what a bunch of weirdos a lot of people are, or at least willing to pretend that they are. But here we go. A Tractor Supply Company announced cuts to their diversity, equity, and inclusion positions, withdrew its carbon emissions goals, stopped submitting data to the Human Rights Campaign, ended a sponsorship of Pride festivals and voting initiatives, all in response to conservative pressure. Now, this obviously led to a conservative activist talking about how great this is and how they have successfully pressured another company into getting away from all this nonsense and, just doing what they normally do. But now you've got the media jumping all over them, LGBTQ organizations and other advocacy groups crying foul. People are sick of this stuff, guys. It seems pretty clear.
Number 6.
Sticking on this issue, and there's a couple stories here. 3 attorneys involved in a lawsuit against Alabama's Vulnerable Child Compassion and Protection Act have apologized to a U.S. District Judge, Lyles Burke, for allegedly attempting to manipulate the judicial process by dismissing and refiling their cases in order to avoid Judge Burke. This is called judge shopping. It's been a very effective tool over the years to get your case in front of a judge that will give you exactly what you want. It's not working out too well right now. Judge Burke has questioned 11 of these attorneys over 3 days about their actions, and now he may impose sanctions on them that could be disbarring them. And what they wanted to do was allow transgender minors in Alabama to get surgery and drugs instead of making them wait till they're 18.
Number 5.
And to bring this full circle, the Biden administration this weekend has retracted its support for gender-affirming surgeries for minors following revelations that Admiral Rachel Levine, who is actually a man, influenced the World Professional Association for Transgender Health to remove age limits in its guidelines. Yes, the Biden administration was working with professional agencies and trying to get them to make it to where children could get transgender surgeries and hormones and all these other things. These groups didn't even want to do that, but the White House pressured them. Now, again, here we are, once again, looking at them messing with kids, and that's the problem. The problem is the kids, and as nobody cares what these people want to do to themselves when they're adults. It's the kids. Stop messing with the kids.
Number 4.
More crime in Birmingham, more excuses in Montgomery, as the 2 crime-infested cities seem to be more interested in excuses than addressing their problems head-on. There's a shooting on I-59 down in Birmingham, leaving 1 dead and 1 in the hospital fighting for his life. And then you have the Montgomery County District Attorney, Darrell Bailey, addressing the city's rise in violent crime and saying, it's not our fault. It's the lack of parental involvement, inadequate legislative action on gun laws, and the need for stricter sentencing by judges, which makes no sense because most of these issues affect more than just these 2 cities and areas. If all these problems were what the issues were in Montgomery and Birmingham, well, then you'd be seeing it in Huntsville, in Athens, in Decatur. You'd be seeing it everywhere, and you're just not.
Number 3.
Now that the disaster that was Joe Biden's presidential debate performance has set in, the media and their Democrats are attempting to find a way to frame the debate as something other than a train wreck. Former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat from California, is suggesting, without evidence, which is what they used to say when people would say stuff like this, but that's not necessary now, but suggesting without evidence that it is in fact Donald Trump as the one that has dementia, which is wild. It's just absolutely wild that nobody gets cut off and yelled at for doing that. That's apparently completely fine. But yes, it's pretty wild. Oh, and by the way, the New York Times called for Biden to drop out, so the Philadelphia Inquirer called on Trump to back out. Yeah, they want him to quit now. Sure.
Number 2.
The Biden campaign is trying to soothe their core supporters ahead of a week that is sure to be filled with more calls for President Joe Biden to walk away from his re-election campaign. By the way, he doesn't have to quit the presidency, just the campaign. I mean, the guy is too addled to campaign, but we can still be the most powerful man in the world. Okay, all right, sure. Look, their campaign is the least screwed of all Democratic campaigns. That's the argument the Biden campaign is making. They sent out an email to all their supporters and said anyone who's calling for Biden to drop out is part of the bedwetting brigade. But they also include the fact that Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Josh Shapiro, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, and Pete Buttigieg are all getting beaten by former President Donald Trump. So they're arguing, at least I'm doing the least bad.
Now, time for the number 1 thing you'll be talking about today.
I put very little stock in what I'm about to tell you, but you should be talking about it. So it's the number 1 thing you should be talking about today. Somehow, former Fox News host Bill O'Reilly has received a scoop that President Joe Biden is preparing to end his campaign and that his team is trying to work out the exit ramp. Now, where does that come from? I have absolutely no idea. How Bill O'Reilly got that? I have absolutely no clue. Why would they talk to a former Fox News host about that? Again, I don't know. It doesn't make any damn sense. But other reports show that Biden met with his crackhead family, and those degenerates, including the crackhead art-dealing international businessman Hunter Biden and the elder-abusing screecher Jill Biden, yeah, those guys are the biggest advocates for Joe Biden staying in the race, which is no surprise because, let's just be honest, Hunter Biden would like to stay out of jail, I'm sure, right? You think he'd want to stay out of jail. And Jill Biden, I think, would like to continue being president of the United States because that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like she is running the show here. You saw how she handled him after the debate. She took the microphone. She screamed about how great it was. Joe, you answered all the questions. It was wonderful. And you only pooped your pants twice. Wow. And they treated it like it was like some sort of massive accomplishment, not a complete embarrassment. So she's advocating for him to stay in. There are others that are suggesting that they'll help more with the campaign now. Are they going to run Ashley Biden out there? Because I got some questions for Ashley Biden if she'd like to talk about her diary. You know, the one that was confirmed that is real. There are so many issues here for Joe Biden, and his family is trying to keep him in the race. I hope they succeed. I do. I do. I hope they succeed. This has been very bad for Joe Biden, but that is very good for the country. We got to muddle through these next couple of months, but take what I told you before in one of the other stories about how the numbers show that Biden's doing better than any of these other candidates. I wouldn't put much stock in that, at least as time goes on right now. So we'll leave it at that.
Get WVNN's Dale Jackson's 7 Things You Should Be Talking About Today right in your email box every morning. Go to yellowhammernews.com and sign up today.